evening, all you Minties, and welcome back to another episode of Reels Talk with your host, the amazing Amanda, and my ever-lovely co-host, Spider-Man 2099. That's not him. That's weird.
That's my way of apologizing to everybody for running late because of technical difficulties. So I figured everybody would appreciate that. Now everybody's perked up and ready to talk about
Spider-Man.
99% of the population.
The Spider-Verse. We have our population here. That's sitting here right now.
That's sitting here, yes. Hello, my friends.
Scott Stab. How you doing?
I really do think this is the guy from Creed.
I really do too.
BTSV is the last chance to have Hailee Steinfeld on the soundtrack. BTSV.
Beyond the Spider-Verse, which is the third movie we found out. The title of the third movie for the Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse trilogy. Yeah. And yes, you know what, Blaz? I am wondering why she has not been on any of these, because she is a gifted singer, songwriter.
What kind of music does she sing?
She sings like kind of like poppy stuff, like poppy dance stuff.
Would it have fit the tone of the movie is what I'm asking.
100% not this tone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when Spider-Gwen was in her universe. Yes, so we are going to be talking about spoilers for people that haven't watched it. I'm watching this tomorrow night with my cousin, so I'll catch the play. Thank you, and enjoy it. Great. So I'm really, really excited to talk about this movie. As I am every time we watch these, no matter if I like something or if I end up hating it. I get really excited to talk about these things. So, she did a song on Bumblebee.
Yep. I don't know that one. I just know her other song. You know that.
Okay. Oh, that's how we're doing this.
That song.
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
But thank you, Josh. Thank you for going on mute and watching, even though you haven't seen it yet. Different types of art was amazing. The way they played with the focus and watercolor backgrounds changing was cool. I smoked before I went and had some candy.
Oh, yes. I was thinking if someone was having a little bit of extra and came into this movie, wow, what an experience they must have had.
Yeah, I think I'd be freaked out. It was all right. So let's talk about this. 5 years in the making. The last one came out in 2018 into the Spider-Verse, and now we are going across the Spider-Verse. Anytime you're mentioning Spider-Verses and things like that, you always think, oh man, they're going to do another multiverse story. Something's going on. We've already done a multiverse with Doctor Strange, but I feel like this one was so different that multiverse just happened to be there and they didn't go across many multiverses. A lot of fun. Hello from Cleveland. Thanks again for being here. Thank you for being here, Joel.
Yes. So this is the second. And
Dude,
now
I said the exact same thing, Blas. Saw people saying it was like Empire Strikes Back.
No.
Nope, that ended on a bad note. It was more like Back to the Future 2. Absolutely. I agree with that.
Yes. But I do like the ending. And we're going to talk about all that. Yes, but this is the middle chapter of a trilogy of stories. And this time around, we have a little bit of different team up. So Phil Lord and Chris Miller actually not only just produced this, but were co-writers along with Dave Callahan, who also wrote Shang-Chi, 2019's Mortal Kombat, Wonder Woman 1984. We're not going to...
Oh, you wait.
I know.
Nobody wants to take claim for that. That's 2019 Mortal Kombat.
That's true. But then, of course, what's really interesting is that it had not one, but 3 directors for this film, which given all the animation and all the moving parts with it, I can't imagine why, anything else that would have worked for it. One of them is Joaquim Dos Santos, who is a animation director veteran. He's done Legends of Korra, fantastic animated series. The Avatar: The Last Airbender, another fantastic story.
You eat your cake before you eat your supper, Roberto Rodriguez. You cut right to the cake.
Roberto. Wait.
Oh, man. It's all about that foreplay, baby. Come on now, Roberto. Give the Latinos a bad name.
We're drinking the same beer. Cheers, man.
Cheers, everybody. Let's have some fun tonight.
Yes. And then, of course, Justice League Unlimited. And then you have Kemp Powers as a second director, who is director of Soul. And he was a writer for One Night in Miami, which is a live action movie. And then, of course, Justin K. Thompson, who was heavy in the animation department for, from the 90s, or early 2000s up into this point. He did stuff like Kim Possible, a lot of Disney stuff like Buzz Lightyear, Star Command. And then he did some of the stuff for SpongeBob SquarePants, which is Nickelodeon. So you have these directors that are who understand animation. You have writers who know how to write good, intriguing stories, and what you get is this middle chapter of which many middle chapters of trilogies. Get me if I'm wrong, Omar. Everyone always has a weird thing about them because they're not really finished, right? The ending always kind of leaves you like it's not one complete story because we know there's more to tell, but make that intriguing enough that people are like, that wasn't really much of a movie. And that's where they do a good job of making sure that does not happen.
It's a hard thing to please everybody, because how do you do a proper part? Because this really doesn't feel like Into the Spider-Verse, I think, stands on its own. It's a great movie. It didn't need a sequel. I'm glad it got one. Cool. Yeah. This one here does not stand on its own. And I think that's what a lot of people say determines what a good mid-chapter sequel is. Like if it's a movie that stands on its own, and this one doesn't. I don't know if it affects anybody's grade or not, but to a lot of people, the term like trilogy, the second movie and the first movie have to stand on their own, no matter what. And I feel like with this one, it just ends abruptly where no, it definitely doesn't end. It does not stand on its own. You need to continue it. But we got the same thing out of like Back to the Future 1 and Back to the Future 2. I love those movies.
Well,
and we didn't even know we were ever going to get a sequel.
Yeah, Two Towers doesn't necessarily stand on its own because we know that Frodo's journey's not finished. We know that everyone else's journey's not finished.
But it ends, right? Like there's actual endings and wrap-ups to some storylines.
To some stories, but at the same time, you also see like Gollum's like, we're gonna take a machine lob. So you know there is a
team. If Andy Serkis' performance was half as good as yours, he would have won that Oscar.
He would have won. He would have got nominated in general. Yeah, so I can see some people having issues with that being a mid, but I haven't seen Fast X, but from what I can gather from reviews I've seen of Fast X, that was a good example. Like people are not happy with how that ended too abruptly without much, but I don't know if people are going to feel the same way about this film, and that's something that I want to explore as we talk about it as well. But yeah, this film. So in the first film, we were introduced to some additional Spider-Man characters from different multiverses because of the collider, right? That Kingpin had Alchemax created. Am I pronouncing that right? It's fine. So that he could bring back Vanessa and his kid. Yeah. And so in this one, the collider is still it's a concept that's hanging in the air because the villain, which we think is the main villain of this story, and I don't know if he actually is the main villain of this particular movie, is called The Spot. He was a scientist who worked for Alchemax at the time, and he was caught in the collider explosion, and it made him into this guy with holes in his body. And let me just say, his hole jokes a lot better than the hole jokes we got in Ant-Man and Quantumania. Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah, but his whole jokes didn't make you count how many holes you had, Amanda, and I had to put you on mute because you couldn't figure that out.
It's terrible.
Listen, so the character of the Spot is a character from the comics, and the Spot's always been this goofy type of character. I think sometimes writers have tried to come in there, make him into a serious type of character, but none have ever been really successful. There hasn't been a definitive Spot type of story.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be a joke character here for like the first 5 minutes. I had no idea he was going to become the whole story. What kind of drives the plot.
Yeah. I thought he was going to be the villain of the week. Like that was the joke of everyone.
Well, he made the joke. He's like, I'll show you who's villain of the week.
Yeah, exactly. And he turns out to be but then you find out later on, in this movie, he is leading up to become what I think is going to be the big bad in the final film, but he's only part of the way, but the rest of the actual, the villain that puts Miles in the situation that he ends up in at the end of the film, I would necessarily is not the Spot so much as it might be Miguel O'Hara. And we could argue about who the real villain is, but I kind of think
going into the trailer, I thought Miguel looked like the villain. That's why I thought remember we had this conversation. I said, "Oh, Miguel's going to be the villain," and you were like, "No, I think there's an actual villain." And I was like, "Shut up! Don't say anything." So I assume you meant the Spot. Is that what you meant?
Oh no, I thought that. Well, when it starts out, I thought maybe that the Spot would be the actual villain throughout the whole movie. and he turns out to just he's going to be the big bad, right? Because he does manage to get to the next universe, to another universe, because he realizes he can actually use his holes to cross into different multiverses, so he can find another collider that works, gets more powerful, so he can finally defeat Miles Morales. But then he disappears, right? And you think the whole story, at least in my mind, the rest of the story is them trying to find him. No, it's not, because it turns itself on his head. It's now the story is about, well, Miles Morales is an anomaly. He's not even supposed to be here. He messes everything up. He already ruined a canon moment for Spider-Man India's universe, right?
Well, let's talk about what makes him an anomaly, because I feel like that was something that's definitely created for this movie, right? That was not mentioned in the first movie, that the spider came from another universe. It was just a spider that bit him. It was Spider 42.
Yeah, we just thought it was Spider number 42.
So that's something in comics. It's called a retcon, where they go back and
we love retcons.
No, I do not. But honestly, it was not explored enough in the first movie for me to go, actually, that spider was so from his universe. It was not from Universe 42. So I'm okay with little things like that. So the spider that bit him is what makes him that anomaly. And apparently he's such a big anomaly that they didn't want to invite him on this team of spider folk. But also Spider Pig didn't get an invitation, neither did Spider-Man Noir. And it could be because...
Well, did they, or they weren't there? We don't know. I mean, John Mulaney was busy,
I figured in that one scene where the characters show up to confront him, and I need to talk about that, because as much as I love this movie, there was one big thing that bothered the crap out of me out of this movie, and it involves the plot, which we'll get there.
Okay. Let's talk about the plot quickly. Let's get it out of the way, because we're kind of jumping all out of the place. Yeah, so we'll quickly talk about the plot. So basically...
Go see it, Alex.
Yes, go see the movie, come back, and get our review.
Here we go. Look, Joe Arnold noticed this. In the first movie, the spider glitches, which means it's from another universe. So we technically should have known the entire time.
No, you're right.
I just thought it was an artsy thing. Because keep in mind, that movie was very artsy in the way that this one is.
See, and even Beast Lad said the same thing. So yeah, that's a good point, guys. I guess it wasn't really a retcon. It's just they never explored it because
it was just part of the Matrix.
They didn't have a reason to explore it in the first movie. It just happened. Yes. So in this movie, here's the plot. So the events of Into the Spider-Verse, it's been about a year, maybe several months afterwards. Miles has grown quite a bit. He's much taller now.
15 years old, going through that growth spurt.
Exactly. And Shameik Moore does a really great job of playing that he's kind of like still a teenager or like a preteen, but now he's on the verge of manhood. Like he does a really good job with that. So his parents are worried about his future. They're talking to the principal, played by Rachel Dratch, Debbie Downer from SNL. Always a pleasure to have her as a voice actress.
Is that who did?
It was. Yeah, I recognized her voice and I had to look it up to be sure. And he has the same problem all the Spider-Men do in every Spider-Man story. How do you balance your real life with your Spider-Man responsibilities, right? He wants to be there for his parents and get good grades. And he does get good grades, except for Spanish, even though he should be getting good grades in Spanish. His mom's not happy about it. But he is struggling in some areas because he's basically he misses classes because he's busy being Spider-Man. And so you have that kind of thing going on. And then you have the parents. And there's a big theme throughout this entire movie about being a parent, what that means, how to handle when your children are growing up, and what you do about it. And it spoke to me as a parent, even though my children aren't yet at that age where I have to worry about some of that stuff, but I always know it's coming. Maybe for Omar, it might resonate a little bit more because his kids actually are on the cusp of womanhood.
Okay, first of all, have one that's a teenager, not womanhood. Far from it. It's really interesting to look at movies like this and see it from the parents' perspective instead of from the kids' perspective, right? Like the whole time you're growing up, you're like, oh, my parents don't understand me. And when you watch movies, you're like, oh my gosh, Breakfast Club totally gets me. They understand who I am. And now you watch Breakfast Club with your kids and you're like, damn, those kids are annoying as hell. Boy, they were some privileged kids, you know? So it's funny to watch movies like this where they're trying to speak to Miles and he feels so distant. That's the thing that I did like about this movie a lot too, that it's the whole family dynamic. It's beautiful between his family, and we also forgot to mention Spider-Gwen because she's in her own universe at the beginning of this movie.
The whole thing. Yeah, that actually started
and
the
that
movie.
Kicks off the whole spider people coming to join or asking her to join them, and they go on this you don't know where they're going. She just has it out with her father because he finds out that she's Spider-Gwen, and he blames her for the death of that world's Peter Parker, which is what happened in the comics. Sure, which is what happened in the comics. So the same thing happened in the movie. Man, I haven't even talked about the animation, which we will get to, but holy crap, I love the different styles they use for each universe, and her universe was the straight up colors out of the comic. Beautiful. Holy crap. That's what somebody was talking. Was that?
You don't have the comic on you, right? Like
no, I gave away the modern Spider. My Spider-Gwen omnibus is over there. But wow, the amount of love and care that went into each panel, it was insane. So she has the dynamic with her father. She's working through her problems of him finding out who she is and then how to deal with that. And then he's having to deal with his mom and dad and balancing that life with being a superhero of Spider-Man. So, his dad's going for a promotion at work, trying to become a captain, and he gets him a cake and stuff like that. They have a party. I really like the interaction between him and his mom too. I know somebody said that she was getting annoying. I kind of liked her. I get it.
Yeah, I mean,
she's looking better in this movie too than the first movie.
I thought her animation had changed slightly. That's why I thought it was a different voice actress, and then we looked it up and it wasn't. But it's because they changed the way she looked in the animation. Her hairstyle, her body type, everything looked a little bit different.
So I really like that they started with her. So I thought we were watching a Miles movie, and then about 10 minutes later we get into his story. So she comes to his universe and she's like, "Yeah, I just wanted to come and say hi." The beautiful freaking New York City. I don't think has ever looked so gorgeous.
I know.
Them swinging through the city, the arts. Oh my gosh,
it's beautiful.
Damn it, I keep going on about the animation, but seriously, the first movie set the bar so high that other animation studios were like, we need that. We're going to do the same thing. And such as the case of the Cat in the Hat. I'm sorry. The Puss in Boots.
Yeah, you're right. Because
that borrowed that animation style. And it feels like this now set the bar higher. So other studios are going to be watching this going, we need to do the exact same thing. Whether it's Disney, Illumination, or DreamWorks, doesn't matter. They want to copy that style. So yeah, they go through the city, and it turns out that it was, she didn't come to see him. She came to see the Spot because she needs to take care of the Spot because they're seeing that he's kind of some kind of anomaly too, that he is tapping into the multiverse. So they needed to put a stop to that. Yeah. And this is when a lot of things get complicated because Miles feels left out. Why didn't they invite him?
Yeah.
So when he goes across the Spider-Verse into their headquarters, wherever the heck they are.
Wherever Spider-Man 29's headquarters.
Yeah, this is when he finds out that the leader of this is Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara, who pretty much says that there's canon things that are supposed to happen, and they have to happen in order for life to continue, or there's going to be a big... I keep wanting to use terms from Hickman's Avengers term.
Like incursion?
Yeah, there's going to be a big incursion. But it's pretty much just people just bleeping out of existence, it looks like.
Exactly. Which we also had these same concepts happen in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, right? Certain things had to happen. They talked about that with the incursions, and they discussed that too. So it's not luckily by this point, it should not, even for a normal audience, besides a comic book audience, should not be a foreign concept. If you've seen at least No Way Home, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, this, even everything everywhere all at once.
So this is where the plot gets complicated, because when they go to Spider-Man India's world, he saves his girlfriend's father, who's a captain, right? He saves her. Miles saves her, and Gwen tries to stop him. He thinks he's just holding her hand, but it turns out that she's trying to stop him from saving this man who's supposed to die. And we'll come back to this because this is where I have the biggest issue with this whole movie. So They go on and pretty much put him inside of a cage. So they're like, look, you're not allowed out, because he finds out that his father has to die.
Yes.
When he gets promoted to captain, he sees the multiverse of all these different Spider-Men that have lost their Uncle Ben's or Peter Parker's or whomever it is that they have to lose to push Spider-Man forward. There's some really interesting cameos too. Live action doesn't usually click well with me when doing animation, but it kind of makes sense when you're doing multiverse stuff. So it flies. But yeah, you get the Andrew Garfield live action scene where he's holding Uncle Ben. Was it Martin Sheen that played his uncle?
Yes, remember. You see, with Martin Sheen, and then you also get a Tobey Maguire cameo as well. You don't get Peter Parker from Tom Holland's universe. They mention him and Doctor Strange. He actually mentions it in passing, but because of Sony Disney things, they can't put that stuff in the actual film. They just make that mention of it. So that's why you only get a mention.
Yeah, which was a nice mention. Yeah. The Easter eggs were insane. Even the ASM 90. Yeah, right. Yeah. The death of Captain Stacy. That was awesome. And then we get a cameo that still doesn't make any sense to me, because is it MCU or is it Sony? And that's the Aaron Davis.
It doesn't need to make sense. It doesn't need to make sense.
He did not wear that. He was wearing his Prowler outfit.
He was being Prowler, so he was clearly Aaron Davis. Whether or not he was Tom Holland's universe's Aaron Davis or not, it's still Donald Glover, and he's not once but twice do we see him in the film, and it was
with the outfit of the Prowler.
That was fantastic. Who made that outfit just for him to sit in it for that one scene? Like,
he's saying that video was playing on a TV. That's awesome. I didn't catch that. There were so many cameos and Easter eggs, which we'll talk about here, because I'm curious who you all caught that I didn't, and I was looking, and it was hard to look. I remember like whispering to Amanda, wish I had a remote control to pause like all these scenes, because there's so many freaking spider people right now.
And a lot of
and let's not forget the greatest crossover mentioned again is the Venom. Boy, they're really pushing for that movie. Venom,
really want that
the lady at the convenience store.
Yep, this lady.
That was the first live action thing. That was the one that I was, what is this nonsense?
Yeah. Because the spot when he's exploring his multiverse abilities, he ends up in the Venom universe. He's like pulls in, and he's looking right at her, and she's like, "What the hell is that?" Like, and she's like, "Well, you think this is the weirdest thing I've seen?" And it's not, right? The weirdest thing she's ever seen.
Oh, wait a minute. Humberto Ramos was supposedly the spider person who didn't know Miles was on his back. What? Oh, dude, there were so many voices in this movie. It's not on IMDb either. There is
some of them are.
No, but the special voices, so artists and I don't know, I've heard rumors of influencers having voices too.
Oh, I don't know about this.
They are all in this big chunk of line where it's like additional voices. Holy crap. Whenever you're used to seeing additional voices and all you see is Frank Welker, because it's usually the additional voice of everything, this time it's like a huge list. So
they had 240 characters.
Miles wasn't gonna have that. He breaks free and he feels betrayed by Gwen and Peter, because we see the return of Peter, and Peter comes back in here. He has now a baby. He has Mayday, right? So he comes back with her, and he's explaining to Miles that things like that have to happen, that he needs to lose his father in order for the universe to exist. So it was a weird reunion because it kind of happened quick, and then he feels betrayed, and then he takes off. And he decides, long story short, hey, I can figure out a way to get back to my Earth. And oh gosh, yeah, people really like Hobby. I bet that guy's gonna get all kinds of love online.
I think
I don't know if I could stand watching 2 hours of that animation style though. I loved him in this, but that's a little too it's a little much watching 2 hours straight.
That is. I'd be worried about
it's so unique. I think it would just it would take a toll on your eyes. So yeah, Miles makes it back to his universe. My wife was upset about Ben Reilly being dumb because she's a big Ben Reilly fan, and she's like,
"Oh, but I love that Andy Samberg. If anyone was going to portray that, the only man who could have done it was Andy Samberg." I was very happy about that. I could see him in having some movie.
It was funny. You needed comedic roles in this,
yeah,
which I appreciate. right? Because we talk about how the MCU always has to throw in, when we were casting the Fantastic Four,
we had this argument, yes.
We were like, well, you mentioned having comedic time, and I'm like, not every character has to. And I appreciate that, because neither Gwen nor Miles, the two main characters, really have a lot of comedic parts here. Yeah, goofy little faces and stuff, but they're 15-year-old kids.
Yeah,
not
well,
like
not like Beth Riley. No, but even in the story itself, someone, I don't remember which character it was, made the comedy. Isn't Spider-Man always supposed to be cracking jokes? We're always supposed to be cracking jokes. Like, they even make the meta commentary about the humor that the character should have. And that's one of the things I love about the film. There was plenty of humor in it, right? Lots of characters had good, like, beats, but it wasn't like quips after quips. And when it got dramatic, it let you.
Yeah, because the whole setup, the buildup is like, they're going to kill his mom or his dad. Now, if you read the comics, you know where that goes. But as you're watching it, you're like, man, they are really hammering the fact that he's distant from his mom and dad. The last thing he said to them wasn't the nicest. What? So, yeah, he makes it back to his universe, or so he thinks. And then it turns out that the genetic code from the spider that got into his system, his blood system, that's what the machine read, and it took him to the Universe 42, where a Spider-Man was supposed to be bitten. We don't know yet who was supposed to be bitten, and I don't even know if that's going to be a thing in the next movie. But somebody was supposed to be bitten, and not him. So the movie ends on a cliffhanger, because Gwen is sent home without her little watch where she can transport. And she decides, no, she talks to her dad. I thought that was a really beautiful moment.
It was a really beautiful
moment. Letting your kid go. Like, it is hard. The older you get, and the older your kids get, it's learning that trust. So they hug, and she takes off and forms her own team of spider folk, which, again, I had a little bit of an issue of, and I think a lot of it has to do with how much time some of these characters were given. So at the end of the movie, we see Gwen with Peter B., Spider-Man Noir, Peter Porker,
Spider-Pig,
Spider-Man India, and the lady, the machine lady,
Penny Parker. Penny Parker, yeah. And I also think Hobie's there too. Hobie's also there.
Hobie. No. I thought it was the lady, not Penny Parker, the machine lady.
Spider-Bite. Yes, Spider-Bite's there too.
Spider-Bite. That's the one that I was like, why is she here? Like, that makes no sense.
I didn't think that she had earned.
I feel like some characters needed a little bit more. There's no after credits, which was nice.
Yeah, right? No after credits. Yeah,
all right.
We don't have a teaser.
So I'm sure everybody across the board loves this movie. I think it's phenomenal. I think it's great. I have some issues with it. And they're not the biggest issues, but one of my biggest issues, though, might be a big issue. I don't know. And it kind of affects my grading of it. All right. You ready to talk about this movie?
Sure.
All right. So, my biggest issue with the movie is the plot of the characters of the spider people that are okay with letting someone die. Because the idea of superheroes, the idea of being better people we got to work something. We got to figure this out.
Yes.
Especially Spider-Man, who's already lost his uncle. So he knows that pain. So it's really weird for Peter B to be there like, dude, this has to happen. That was a really weird scene, considering he was in the first movie. Or even Gwen. I was like, what?
Why would Gwen not over Peter's death, her best friend's death? Yeah, because that.
Well, and then just to see people die because it's part of this. Like, there's always a way to work things out, and I think that's what really is the core of a superhero or Spider-Man. There's always a way to work this out. I always felt like watching the Evil Leaper saga in Quantum Leap. So when everybody turns on him, I had a big problem with that. I was like, how are all these people? So I'm glad that people like Spider-Man Noir weren't there, or Peter Parker, because I thought, okay, well, it makes sense that, they would not be for this idea of letting people die, because it's part of what makes spider people work or whatever. That was one of my biggest issues with this, and it kind of it felt really weird. It felt like I was missing something, and I think part of that might be the drive of Spider-Man 2099, because we got a little bit of why he's got this push to do it, but I don't think we got enough, because when you go and watch a movie, if you don't know who Spider-Man 29, first of all, he's nothing like the comic book version. And if it happens in the second part where we get more of a fleshed out story with him, cool. But I feel like in this movie, when you're setting him up as the big bad, because he still feels like the big bad, especially when he's like, no, man, you got to watch your dad die and you get to be locked up here. That's kind of bad. It feels like you needed that story fleshed out a little more instead of seeing a quick clip of like his losing his daughter.
Yeah.
So that was my biggest issue with this movie. Because,
so character motivation or where the character's journey, like
I love the dynamic in family. I think the dynamic in the family is beautiful. I love it, man. It's so good. It's so true. That's the way it is. Doesn't matter, like interracial marriages, like everybody has problems. Doesn't matter. I like that. You see it from both sides, girls, boys, whatever. But it's that main plot that really bugged me, and I could not let it go. And it just makes no sense. And I'm not saying it's lazy writing. I just think something is missing to flesh it out, to make it make sense. Because I refuse to believe that only a handful of spider people would be okay or not okay with this master plan by Spider-Man 2099 to let all these people die across the universe. That's a villain. That's Thanos, like Thanos way of thinking, right? That is a villain thinking. And for all these spider folks to be with that, no, doesn't work with me. So I don't know how you felt about it.
Not all of them seem to be okay
majority,
with it, but accepted it. I think it's a matter of whether or not they were okay with it, but they used their logic to accept it because they knew the stakes of what would happen if these things didn't play out. And I think, for me, I understand where they need it for the plot. I don't know if we really needed it. I think it would have been it would be okay if the whole reason we don't have Miles is because he is an anomaly and everything he does creates an anomaly. And that's just because of Miles as his self, right? I would have been okay with that just being the plot instead of adding in, well, we also have these canned events. We all accept that these things must happen. It's not just like, it could have been just Miles, you're messing everything up. Everything you touch creates an anomaly, which that's partly true, I guess. But for me, I don't know if it bothered me as much because I also know that in every iteration, for the most part, of Peter Parker, he's also somewhat of a genius, and he's not Mr. Fantastic level because we know Mr. Fantastic would sometimes, when it chooses like to do the right thing, and we have seen him maybe take the path of a Miguel O'Hara, right, in some of the comic books. But maybe whatever Miguel said to them, which we don't see because we don't see him recruiting them and telling them the story of why it is, and even what he tells Miles, it's still truncated because he doesn't want Miles to know everything because of the fact that Miles is an anomaly, right? So I feel like we as the audience are still missing something. I think we're going to get it in the third movie.
How do you rope all these people in?
I mean, is it that is it the logical part of them that understand it? I mean, because even Peter B. Parker said, I didn't want my uncle to die, but he's older now and he understands, like, without that, I never would have had the drive. But that's because he's an older, he's older and he understands that. So is Miguel, but Miles
the whole reason he had a kid was because of Miles. And he's willing to put Miles through that pain. No, that doesn't make sense. And he was okay with it. He was like, it has to happen. That
was weird that he said that. I agree. It was a little weird that they would all turn on Miles for that. And they wouldn't. I mean, now, obviously, by the end, it's clear that his friends and several others he's made along the way, because obviously Spider-Man India owes him a debt of gratitude because he saved his girlfriend's father from dying. So, of course, Pavitr owes him that debt of gratitude. Hobie, he always never liked the establishment anyways. He's very Sex Pistols, 70s era, punk rocker. So we always knew he was never going to stick with whatever Miguel was putting down. You could always see that. So we always knew that was going to happen. So eventually they will turn. I guess the whole idea is it takes Miles to do that. Is that why they wanted this whole situation in the first place? Because he is an anomaly. He's not just a regular old Peter Parker or Gwen or Jessica or whatever.
The only one that might have made sense to me, because I don't know Jessica Drew. I don't know that that version of Jessica Drew, so I was okay with that. Any character that was introduced in this movie, sure, they can be evil spider people. Make okay with yes, a lot of people also think Thanos is right. Be okay with the death of people. But the only one from the previous movie that I thought, okay, that maybe could work would be Gwen, because he's manipulating her because she's younger. She needs that father figure. Maybe that's the kind of connect. But it was never, but it wasn't fleshed out, right? All she kept talking about was Hobie. We didn't see a real connection between her and Miguel. He didn't want to take her to begin with.
No.
So
her and Justice closer.
Yeah, so that was like I said, that's my biggest issue with this movie. I love the first one, and I thought this one here had the potential to be so much better. Like, because it's hard to one that the first one was phenomenal. I loved it. I think when you and I reviewed it, we were both like, that's the best Spider-Man movie.
And I would still argue it is this best. It is still.
And then we had Spider-Man No Way Home, which is to a lot of us like, holy crap, putting all these people together.
Yeah,
movie, that was insane. This one, it feels like with that little bit of the plot, like it just wasn't there. I love Miles. Like, he was great in this movie. I think him and his family were great. The freaking the spot grew on me from like, oh, he's not just a joke character. That dude is gonna go after his family. That was creepy. Like when he turned, that was really good. That was dramatic.
Agreed. Jeff's asking, why was Spider-Man 29 reserved at first? I think he was reserved because he knew of her personal connection to Miles, and he didn't want Miles involved because Miles was an anomaly. So I think the reason that they were very hesitant about that, which that's why I was surprised too that we later see that Penny Parker was there and Peter B. Parker was also there. I was surprised that those two were there. We obviously didn't see Noir and Spider Peter Parker, and that could just be because they couldn't get Nicolas Cage and John.
And like I said, because of where the plot went, I was okay with those characters missing.
Yeah, they don't need to be there. Now they'll show them clearly.
In my head, I was like, oh, they took a stand. They said no, thank you.
Yeah, well, we had plenty of other Spider-Man, so it's not like we were missing anything. We weren't missing and without. But I mean, I can see that it wasn't necessarily a big issue for me per se, but I can see where if you're someone who is well and like, understands like what a typical hero, especially Peter Parker.
Even if I just watched the first movie, the connection between the characters is what I really liked. And having him as a mentor,
you lost that connection.
Feels like, holy crap, that's like your family, like turning their back on you. And even worse than that. Okay.
Well, and that's why we're missing a piece of it. And that's Miguel. What did he say? What has he done? Because he must have put the fear in everyone's eyes. And he's, let's face it, a very scary, like the way he was drawn, and Oscar Isaac does a great job as the voice actor for the role.
Oh yeah. He was great.
So menacing. So he clearly scares these people. He's put something in everyone's heads that make them think this is our mission.
He's even drawn differently than everybody else. Like
very angled,
sharp. Yes, and he's got the heavy ink marks around his face and the scars. It was really weird because, I mean, obviously it's a man that's been through a lot, right?
Clearly.
So he's animated differently. Not that everybody's animated their own style, which I liked about this. But he is definitely animated like a villain. He's your stereotypical looking villain when he pulls that mask off. Yeah. Oh, this is a good question. At what point did you guys realize Miles was transported to the wrong universe? I think I did not catch. I'll be honest. I did not catch when his mom said, "Oh, you did something different with your hair." My first thought was, how long was in that universe?
I thought that too. Gwen was in there for like 3 months, and then she eventually when she got sent back, it had been 3 months, and poor Captain Stacy was miserable.
I think it was when it was showing Gwen outside
with his
door. Like, oh, they're gonna do the whole Back to the Future too. We're in the wrong 1985. Which really felt like that.
It was perfect because even like when Miguel and Jessica and Ben O'Reilly end up going to his universe to find either him or the Spot, right? So they end up back, and there's on that ledge, and there's that welcome sign. But then at the same time, you see when they cut, him going behind that welcome sign. So I almost thought he was trying to bypass them. I really thought they were in this, like, the way they did it was perfect until that exact moment when you realize when him and Gwen are going into the same room, but it's not the same room.
Yo, I'll be honest, Roberto, I didn't even notice that when his mom didn't know who Spider-Man was. I just thought maybe something was wrong with.
Oh no, that's when
maybe like something happened to him and his mom, like his mom.
Maybe someone made them forget, like, or something. Yeah, about everything. Maybe it was a spillover of Doctor Strange's.
It was really good, tight edits. I like that. I will say I love the edits in this movie were brilliantly done. Dude, I thought they were gonna kill his mom or dad. I kept thinking they're doing that family dynamic.
Yeah,
they're pushing hard on that. Surely one of them is gonna die.
Yeah.
When he got transported, the display shows he's doing.
I'll have to go watch it again.
Look at you noticing the obvious. I think I was just super excited to see where he's gonna end up. For some reason, it hit me right away as soon as he got to the machine, said Earth 42. And I was like, hang on. At the beginning of the movie, stressed the fact that Miles is from 1610. Okay. Raised eyebrow.
Well, we were clearly not paying attention to the numbers on the screens, Omar.
Hold on. His mom said at the beginning of the movie that Spider-Man was Puerto Rican. And he said, nah, he's more Dominican Republic. My theater started laughing. We're in Kentucky. We didn't have many people laughing at that joke.
No one laughed at that joke. I don't think they got it. Where we were.
I laugh because I have some Dominican friends and Puerto Rican friends, so I thought it was funny.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, as far as
I talked for a long time about what I didn't like. Yeah. What about you? What did not work for you in this movie?
Well, I mean, not a whole lot did not work for me. I will put it that way. It wasn't so the plot itself wasn't as tight as the plot of the first movie. And I think, I can give it a pass and say that's because unlike the first movie, which was, I think they set that up as its own like standalone because they weren't really sure how it was going to do, if it was even going to get a sequel. And then as soon as they saw box office returns, Oscar award, then like, oh, well, then we're definitely going to be doing more of these. And then I'm sure they had paused the idea, but it was never like let's end it just in case it doesn't do well. And so the plot for me, not necessarily, I see where you're coming from when you talk about, the motivation.
Listen, you and everybody else, those are my opinions. Do not let that ruin or take anything away from the enjoyment of this movie.
For me, I didn't have a real issue with that itself, but the plot itself, I mean, there's a lot going on, and when it came down to it, it didn't feel as tight as the first movie. So that was probably the biggest issue I had with the film, because, there's a lot of things that were left unsaid that we kind of had to work through ourselves because we have to cut time for all the different characters. And so that probably would have been the only main issue that I had with the film itself. Also, we saw Gwen getting recruited, but then we don't see Peter. And I'm like, well, why would Peter be doing this? I thought he was going to be a father and he's going to raise a kid. He was going to go back to Mary Jane. And it didn't seem like his character would play another role in this. But of course, I guess he has to because it's the movie and they have to do that. And they have to keep the characters we already know coming back. So those are some of the main issues that I had with the film. But other than that, I didn't really have necessarily any overly glaring, massive issues with the film itself. I really enjoyed the film. I loved the art by itself. There are certain parts of this movie that if I just had a still of it that I could frame and put in my house, I would be totally fine. Any
frame in this movie you could pick out and put on your wall, and people would be like,
gorgeous.
That's beautiful. Like
that
seriously.
alone should let this win the Oscar for 2023's Best Animated Feature. There's nothing else that's come out. Super Mario Brothers, whatever, but there's nothing out here that is best. I'm just saying, as far as Best Animated Feature, nothing comes close to what this has done. And I don't think anything will this year. I mean, I saw Elemental's previews.
What Spider-Verse did for animation copying its style, this will do the same thing for animation copying its style moving forward. Seriously, people at animation studios right now are going, how do we do that? That's what we need. And it's okay. It's definitely a form of flattery, and you need it to push studios over, to keep trucking.
Yeah.
The only other thing I will
Spider-Punk, I think it took him 2 years just to animate him alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, The only other thing I will say is this does not affect my grade at all. But the soundtrack to me was not as memorable as the first one. Because the first one, how many people found out about Post Malone after the first movie? Everybody listened to Post Malone. Now
what's the danger? That song, and that's not Post Malone,
right?
but that hit hard. I mean, there's 5 or 6 songs from that soundtrack that I listened to when I ran on repeat.
Solid soundtrack.
For a good 3-4 months after that movie came out.
And I'm not saying this one is bad, but not it's not the same. It's not that same going through the city. Yeah. It didn't hit as hard as the first one. I thought the soundtrack of the first movie was better.
Yes.
So yeah, the things that I liked about it was just about I've seen people in the comments and people online complain that it was too long. I thought it flew by.
Yeah,
I remember looking at you going, oh shit, I forgot this is a part 1. I forgot it was going to be a part 1. Yes. So I was like, oh, damn. And let me tell you right now, somebody's talking about the posters.
The posters. Oh man, can someone get me one of those?
Did any of it? Let me see. We went to a small town in Kentucky. We didn't get
we didn't
get like the
we didn't get nothing.
Stickers or the nothing. Dude, but
I was happy with how packed it was on a Thursday night in our small town theater.
Have you seen the Chinese posters?
No.
They are amazing. It's amazing. The print that they got over in China is amazing. Chris didn't dig it. Chris saying felt 6 hours long, completely unsatisfying. Wow. I thought it flew by. I really did. By the ending, I kind of thought that's where it was going to end. I'm like, oh, this is the place you ended.
Now, given
we need a lot in our town, brother.
We have an AMC somewhere, just not. It's like 45 minutes away, so we're not going that far. Mm-hmm. Now, so your issue with the whole motivation for the characters, like them accepting that their loved ones have to die. Do you think that's ruined the film overall for you? Do you still enjoy the film as a whole?
Look, it's hard to rate a movie like this because we haven't seen the second one, and I know you're not. We're rating this one, and that's all that matters. So I'm sticking to that rule. But in the third movie, they really could expand on the characters of Miles Morales. They can expand on the idea of this is how he was able to manipulate these Spider-Man. This is how he was able to get them to join him because
we don't know.
To me, it makes absolutely no sense why so many of them would be on his side and okay with this weird plan. I still think this is probably the most beautiful movie I've seen in a long time. I was in awe. There were so many moments in the theater where my jaw just dropped when, holy crap. Why? I hate to say this. There were moments in the theater when I thought to myself, why can't the comics be like this?
That beautiful and
just this good. And this is just him talking to his mom and dad.
Yeah.
I kind of miss that in the comics. I give Bendis a lot of crap, but he did add a lot of those elements in the comics. Nowadays,
executive producer on this, so he making some money off this movie.
He made some money. Good for him.
Yeah.
Look, if they had played the next movie right after this, I would have sat there for another 2.5 hours.
I would have too. If they do when it comes out, if they do the whole thing. Someone said March 2024. No, but that's where I really enjoyed the movie. Like the themes it touched upon. It we talked about the parenting stuff. It had throughout the entire movie. We sat next to each other and we kept thinking man, this is really hitting us as parents. And like I said, my kids are even though Lyndon's only 7, I still feel a lot of this because she's 7 going on 18, and your kids are almost there. So okay, a lot of these themes it hit really hard. And then the ideas of acceptance and belonging, and they do such a good job of putting that in the film and understanding who you are and accepting who you are and being different. There are so many great things happening in the film that I think for me it was easy to I ended up overlooking a very pointed fact about why would all these heroes be okay with someone dying. Okay, I've asked.
You got that, Robin's Prime Rate. I didn't say any names. I just said
I have to read that.
Comics be like this again.
Yeah.
Because honestly, Miles,
Chris,
I enjoy.
I will never say chai tea again. I'm never gonna say chai tea again. Nope.
Dude, I like that because that was a conversation I've had with friends before.
Yep.
The chai tea is just repetitive. So yeah, I like the plot. as far as like the family dynamic.
Yeah.
And I like that he's trying to find himself because that's what he wants, right? He can't. You have this kid, keep in mind, he's 15 years old. Everybody that's 15, we've all been there. We've gone through changes. We feel like we don't belong anywhere. He doesn't belong at home. He definitely doesn't belong with his friends because he's a superhero. We didn't even see what's his face in this movie. Genki, right? Like,
well, we did, but Genki got some muscles.
Yeah, that's what happened in the comics.
Jordans. I mean,
but we didn't see him. We didn't see like any scenes of them hardly together.
They didn't really interact that much.
So he feels so out of place. Again, 15 years old, and then, even though I don't agree with the whole motivation behind it, to be betrayed by the people you thought were your real family, the only people that could understand you.
Yes.
And that's why I like Miles in this, because he was like, I'm gonna do my own thing. That was awesome. I love that because he didn't give up, because that's what Spider-Man does, right? He doesn't give up. I'm gonna do my own thing.
And he shows them that he's stronger than he was before. He's confident in his own power.
Yeah, he's got all these new powers and stuff.
Yeah, he can do his new thing where the recharge energy thing. And yeah, there's a lot to it that I really, really do love about this film. And we have to talk. I mean, one of the things I do love about the film is the actors, because the voice actors, and we've had this conversation about, they bring in famous people to do voices. Why do they do that? But they do that here. A lot of the people, like Jessica Drew, is played by Issa Rae, and
she's all right.
Insecure is like one of my favorite TV shows. Of course, Shameik Moore, next level with Miles. I mean, he just connects with that character so well. And Hailee Steinfeld, again, as Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, both of them are solid.
And Jason Schwartzman as the Spot. So those of you who are not,
I'm not a fan of that guy, but I really that character grew on me. And
character really grew on me too. I loved it. And then of course Daniel Kaluuya as Hobie Brown. That was great.
I didn't even know it was him. He
never does a British accent. He's always playing American in all his movies.
Or
Wakandan. Yeah, he's Wakandan or American, right? If he's in the Jordan Peele movies, American, and then
I'll be honest with you, I've never been a fan of Spider-Punk in the comics, but this Spider-Punk, I remember when he showed up, I started rolling my eyes.
You did roll your eyes.
He was good. By the end, I'm like, all right, you get a pass. He's cool. Cool. Dude, he took his mask off. I was like, how are you even cooler with your mask off? That
hair and
because he was already jealous because him and Spider-Gwen had a thing, and he's like,
clearly hung out.
Who's Hobie? What's going on?
And she left her sweater at his house too.
Her toothbrush. Yo!
Toothbrush. Oh yeah, like
She's
that was
it.
Yeah.
She's a kid.
Yeah, we'll hope she's like 17.
Carajo. Let me see. No me gustó esta película. Tengo muchas quejas. Okay. You know I love you, brother, so you're entitled to your opinion. Hubiese esperado a DVD o digital. I love the DVD. O DVD. How do you even say that in Spanish? O digital. No valió ir al cine y pagar $15. Dios mío, tienes que mudarte a Kentucky, hermano. Nosotros pagamos $7. No, creo que era $6.
Yeah.
Dude, I was thinking the same thing because we've all been there, right? We've had this girl that we've had our eye on, and then she's talking about some other dude, and he's like, "What do you mean you crashed there? Like overnight?" She's got her toothbrush at his house. That's the part that I was like, she's a kid. What's going on?
Kid. It's weird. Yeah. I guess she's a Spider Woman, so I don't know.
I have heard people say, I can't wait for Miles to show up in the MCU or in live action.
Oh yeah.
Nah, man, there's nothing wrong with animation. I think screw that. Screw live action, because animation, it's endless. You can do anything. Now
they're gonna do a live action.
I feel like a lot of this was they did the voice work and then they did the animation for some parts, because there were times when especially during the Spider folks, when they're going after Miles, they're talking and they're getting hit by things and they're not reacting to it. It's like they're delivering, like somebody's talking into a microphone and delivering a line, and then not being affected by what's going on the screen. I felt like that was the only scene that stood out. Everything else was great.
Interesting.
That was the only scene, because I remember there's way too many voice actors here. So it felt like a lot of them probably called it in or whatever, and then they started animating around them. So, yeah. They did say something about a band, so maybe they just made a band and not more for Miles' sake. Yo pagué $16 en taquilla y 10 el combo de nachos y refresco. I love that this is all in Spanish now.
Yeah.
People talk about how much they paid. I think Miles will show up in the MCU after the third movie in Spider-Man 4.
Well, Amy Pascal and Avi Arad said a Miles is coming. I don't think he'll be in this MCU though, unless
I don't think I think this is great. I think animation's where you keep it, because holy crap, this was, and I hope this movie does great. Because again, it's this whole stigma of like, oh, cartoons are for kids. And this movie is not. I mean, my kid enjoyed it. My oldest daughter loved it.
My daughter cried at the end.
Yeah, your daughter was pissed off more than
you were. My kid was bawling because it was over and there was no conclusion.
The movie? Where's the rest of the movie?
My 7-year-old was upset that we didn't get more movies. So for all of us over here thinking like, man, there's no conclusion to this film. Yeah, my daughter felt it too. Don't worry, you're not the only ones. Except you all have your heads. You're not all like immature 7-year-olds, so you're not gonna cry over it like she did.
Do you think they might do a live action Miles with Shameik Moore as a cameo in Beyond the Spider-Verse just for fun? The title comes with infinite possibilities. I will say with the title like Spider-Verse, to me it felt like the right use of the multiverse.
Oh, perfect.
It's not, there were a lot of Easter egg moments, but I thought it was more about Miles and why the multiverse. Like when I first saw the title, I'm like, oh, this is going to be awesome. It's going to be nothing but Miles and Gwen going across different, but we only really got 4 universes in this movie, I think.
Yeah, 4 main use, but we got a lot of cameos and and already it's made 17 mil opening on Thursday in the preview showings. It's looking like, I mean, we're looking, if it makes 100 mil this weekend, that will be great. If it makes more than that, I will be completely over the moon, but I think it's going to do really well. After, it's been so many years, it's garnered a lot of love, the first movie. So I think we have
5 years in the making, man. That's crazy.
That's crazy. The Lego Universe too. They had that as a little homage to Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who.
Oh, they did?
Well, yeah. Remember the Lego movie? They created the Lego movie.
Oh, I forgot they wrote that too. Yeah.
And so
then, the voice of Peter Parker Lego then?
I couldn't find that information. All I know is Josh Keaton is the voice of Spectacular Spider-Man in this, so he did reprise that. Yuri Lowenthal was the voice of Insomniac Spider-Man from the.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about Easter eggs really quick. I want to know who you all caught because I was keeping an eye, and holy crap, it was hard. So of course, Ben Reilly. Hold on, really quick. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is this week. Transformers is next week. Holy crap, are you serious? The following week is Flash. Then I go to Japan, so I can't review anything after that. No movie until I come back. No movie the following week, and then Indiana Jones the last week of the month. Holy crap. Yeah. So there were so many voices. I feel like every Spider-Man, especially the here, or you, like the
oh yeah. Oh, I got that one. I got it. Where is it?
You got that one.
Where's the point? Yeah, when he's like, get Spider-Man. I'm like, wait, you? Am I supposed to get you? And
so yes, even that part. Correction. According to the numbers, it made 30.8 million on Thursday alone. Now is that domestic or is that
domestic or international?
International. And domestic.
Because the numbers I was looking at is domestically it made 17 mil, and then it's looking at making almost 150 mil worldwide this weekend, which is pretty good. Pretty good.
Brian Hall, Omar, you're leaving on my birthday, Father's Day weekend. I am leaving on June 20th. June 21st is my 15th anniversary, and we went to Japan on our honeymoon, so we will be in Japan on the 21st. J.K. Simmons, that's right. J. Jonah Jameson cross every Spider-Man movie is incredible. That was
I'm so happy with that.
The first one I spotted was Genki playing the Spider-Man game.
Who did play the Spider-Man game?
So we know, of course, Ben Reilly was the one. There's the Spectacular Spider-Man. There's the Renew Your Vows Spider-Woman in there.
Yep.
There was I could have sworn I saw the Doc Ock Spider Kid. Sorry, Spider Kid. I didn't see Kane. I was looking for Kane and Man Spider, but I'd love to know who everybody else caught. As far there was a Spider Baby. He was there. Oh, dude, the Spider-Man from the original 60s cartoon, but I'm pretty sure everybody called that one.
Patrick O'Hara, the gunslinging Spider-Man.
Oh, the gunslinger Spider-Man?
Yeah, that's played by Taron Killam, former SNL actor. And he always does a lot of voice acting as well.
Look at you guys. June 16th, and Matt is June 17th.
Nice.
All these June birthdays. My daughter's the 12th. I'm taking her to Kings Island. Metro Boomin was the one who said Miles had nowhere to run, and he broke the glass and escaped afterwards. After Miles, he did the soundtrack.
Yeah, he did the soundtrack. Yes, I was like, isn't that the guy who did the soundtrack? Because I
Spider Buggy. That was so funny. Spider Buggy showed up.
What about the Spider Cat? That was my favorite. Especially when the cat when he grabbed it and it shot the web out of its mouth.
I think. Yes, I heard Alfred Molina. Yes. I know Amanda did too, because we both said
we heard
him. It was definitely something used from the Spider-Man movies, the Tobey Maguire movies.
Yeah, it was definitely used there.
Earth 688, Venom's universe was cool.
Yeah,
the lady at the the
bodega lady. Yeah, that was awesome. I'm trying to think. You said there was the Peter from the Fantastic Four, or those Johnny.
Oh yeah, the FF Peter with the sack. Yep.
There he is.
He was there. There was another Spider-Man. What was it? Oh, end of the universe Spider-Man. That outfit was there. Oh my gosh. I wish I could just pause these.
That.
So good.
Yes.
Yeah, the Donald Glover. I don't think anybody saw that coming.
I didn't see that coming. That shocked the hell out of me.
Man, it was like
I love Donald Glover, and I just couldn't believe, I don't know how they got him to agree to that, put on that costume. Who made that costume? There's a lot of questions I have about how that cameo, and I'm sure that we'll get the story behind it at some point. But that was the biggest surprise to me. I was not expecting that. I had heard that we were getting a Venom, and then I thought, okay, well, maybe we'll see something about
I'm honestly surprised we didn't see a Carnage symbiote or a Venom symbiote type of Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's really weird.
And I don't know if that's because of the Sony. I don't know. Yeah, but those sort of kind of things I was keeping an eye on. All right. So it looks like everybody joined in. All right, Amanda. Moment of truth. I think we talked about everything about this movie, what worked for us, what didn't work for us. Ladies first. Amanda, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This movie on its own. What would you give this out of 10? I can't remember what we gave the first one. I'm pretty sure it was a 10 out of 10 because I really liked it.
10 out of 10. I guess I'll give this one a 9 out of 10. I honestly loved it. But I know that we are left, and it's not like that's going to degrade the story or the rating for me that we have a cliffhanger, because it's the second movie out of a trilogy. So of course there's going to be a cliffhanger. I think the cliffhanger was portrayed wonderfully. Like I said, there's some issues with the overall plot I had, but other than that, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was one of the best, if not one of the best films of this year. It's definitely going to be on my top 10. This and Guardians are going to be right up there. And then poor Ant-Man's going to be all the way down there. We'll see. We'll see.
Poor Ant-Man.
Poor Ant-Man. We'll see where Flash lands later on. But no, absolutely love this film. I hope everyone goes and see it. I will see it again, probably multiple times, just like I did with Guardians.
For the freaking art alone, this
just
movie.
For the art, and just so I can see if I feel like I've missed something. Like, there are things I probably missed, because I thought about this, about when you get so invested in something, and I know this is going to sound corny, but I've read articles about Taylor Swift fans have amnesia, not remember what songs are played after the concert, because they're
living in the moment.
Yeah, and then you forget. I feel like I kind of felt that way with this film, and so I need to go back and rewatch it for some of the things, Easter eggs I might have missed and things like that. But yeah, that and the music, I do agree. I wish it was a little bit more memorable. I mean, Lil Wayne is on the soundtrack with Metro Boomin, but that doesn't mean much. It's an okay song, Annihilate. Not one of my favorites. The Hummingbird song is not the Sunshine song. It's not this, or Sunflower song. It's not the same thing, but it's okay.
You're gonna have a bunch of Post Malone fans after this one. Yeah, this is I think it's an 8 out of 10 for me. I think my grading may change after I see the second one. So or the third one.
Yeah.
But yeah, for now, it's an 8 out of 10. It was a great film. I liked it. I have I have an issue with the plot, but I also understand that sometimes I just have to let go of things to enjoy the movie. I do that with Christopher Nolan films because if you sit down and break the plot apart in a Christopher Nolan film, you're just going to give yourself a headache with all the freaking plot holes it has.
Yes.
So yeah, it was very enjoyable. Holy crap.
Oh, yeah.
The time just flew by for me. I really enjoyed it. And I can't wait for the next one. And I hope the writer's strike does not affect it.
Say that. Well, hopefully it's already been, in my mind, if it's supposed to come out next year, that means at the very least production, it's in a post-production status or near complete. So writing, and I don't know how writing works with animation versus like live action, but I imagine because you have to animate with the writing, most of that's already done. So some of the things you can't do on a writer's strike probably don't really affect the production of the third movie, is my assumption, but I could be completely wrong.
Okay. 9.5 out of 10. Bloss gives it a 9, 8 out of 10. But with the second part, I agree. Comes out, may change it. 9 out of 10, 9.8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Wanted to see more. Didn't know it was a part 2. Right. I remember when I was like, oh,
shocked with that.
0 views out of 10. Don't mind spoiling myself. We'll see it.
Yes. Kane said that earlier. That seen it.
8.5, but strongly pushing a 9 out of 10. And Omar, are you excited about Oppenheimer? I so am. Look, right, 10 out of 10, right below Guardians 3. Is top
film for Nolan. Did you know that?
What's that?
Oppenheimer will be Nolan's first rated R film, according to some of the things, like articles I've read.
Really?
I didn't realize that. Yeah, I thought he had other rated R films, but why is that one rated R? Because of bomb.
I really could have sworn Memento was rated R. Huh. Okay. Yeah. I personally enjoyed this movie a lot. Going to see it again tomorrow. That's awesome.
Good, Jeff.
And one of my favorite comments, I get amnesia when I see Amanda's beauty.
Smooth.
Smooth, Brian. That was smooth, son. Smooth. Hummingbird and the song in the mid-credits probably the only ones
20 years.
Sort of, yeah, but still memorable, right? Still memorable.
Yes.
I'm very excited about it. I like his films. Like I said, I just have to throw the plot holes out the window.
Yeah. No, it's his first film in over 20 years. So yeah, Memento, I guess, is more than, oh my God, it's more than 20 years since Memento came out.
Yeah, let's not think about that. I'm back and forth between 9 and a 10. I loved it, and I can't wait to see it again. I was left kind of speechless after I saw it.
Now, if I had to rate animation and the movie by itself, animation's 11 out of 10.
Animation's next level. Like animation just set the future of other animated studios.
I don't know how they I watch it. I'm like, how do they do that? How do they make that? It's gorgeous. And then we were having this conversation in the Omar and Melanie and I were having that conversation in the parking lot. I was like, there's no way no one can come down on me and tell me AI can do that. No, it cannot. Well, AI cannot do that. I've got
some news for you.
No, stop. It cannot do something as beautiful as that. No, I'm sorry. And you know what? AI can't write good stories either, because I've asked my chat GPT to write me fanfic on both Harry and Draco and Nebula and Star-Lord. And guess what?
That's a free app.
They start off the same way.
You know what? Some humans can't write good stories either. Have you seen that, man? Quantum Mania?
Well, I blame time constraints, budget, and a studio for some of that stuff.
Well, what's the problem with Ant-Man 2 then? Because I have a problem with that one too. 10 out of 10, tied with Guardians. Did Nolan direct Pacino movie with Robin Williams? Which one? Awakening?
Awakening.
Are you talking about Insomnia? I don't think that was that Nolan?
Let me look it up.
I can't remember. That's Nolan. Did notice one thing. Gwen had a scratch on her when she arrived where Vulture was, but wasn't hurt yet till later. Then the scratch on her arm was back again. Maybe she's got a glitch in the Matrix as well. That animation was made with ultimate love and attention to detail. Absolutely. They used watercolors. Love how the background's walls in the apartment changed. Right. I was actually telling Amanda and my wife, like when we left the theater, I was like, dude, if I was on drugs and I was watching that scene of her reconnecting with her father, where there's just shapes floating around in the background for the mood, I would be like, what the hell is happening? Animation has always blown my mind. It's truly incredible what artists can accomplish. You know, I still miss the traditional animation because I love, I love hand-drawn animation. But if studios can figure out a way to work type of animation like this into the 3D animation they're using, I would be more okay with that.
Yeah.
It's a good mix. I liked it.
It's a good mix.
Was it messing with you, man? Was it messing with you? So what was the green stuff Miguel injected with himself? Well,
that was good stuff,
in
right?
the comic, I don't know what route they're. See, it's another thing they didn't expand on him. In the comics, he was addicted to that drug that Alchemex, Trevor gave him at Alchemex, and the only thing that was the cure for the drug was the product that Alchemex made. I don't know what route they're gonna. I mean, that was only early on in the comics, by the way. I don't know what route this movie's gonna go, but they didn't. I mean, they teased that. Holy crap! Imagine a Batman Beyond movie with a high budget, and holy crap, that would be so awesome. This and Dragon Ball Super Broly has been, dude. I ain't seen Broly yet. The last one I saw was no, I saw the Return to F, and then the one after that, Return F. I can't remember what the hell Frieza's. What was after Frieza's return? It was something else. It was the second Dragon Ball Super movie.
I'll ask Corey. He loves himself. All right. No, so the Nolan thing, it's over 20 years. Insomnia was 2002. So that would be over 20 years ago since he's had a
that was after Memento. Wow.
Yeah, but this is 2023. So it'd be over 20 years.
We stop reminding people that was
I know. I'm just saying, because over 20 years is what the headlines are. That he's had a radar film.
Omar, I love this movie so much. It got me to order Spider-Gwen Omnibus when I got home. I got worried it would go out of print. I think one of the comics is out of print, dude. Yeah. Spider-Gwen is a lot of fun. I actually really liked Miles when he was in the Ultimate Universe. I love this stuff.
Yeah.
I did watch the Broly movie. I'm sorry. I haven't seen Super yet. Broly was good. Sorry about that. What? You haven't seen? Oh, man, now I'm going to get canceled. What? You haven't seen Dude, where you been, Immortal Ibsy? Oh, my God, Omar, do your eyeballs a service and watch it. You don't need to be caught up. I know. I've seen it. I'm sorry. It's the new one that I haven't seen with the 2 android robot things from Red Ribbon Army. A Batman Beyond movies in style of Across the Spider-Verse, the world would just end. No more creative movies would ever. You know, I was thinking, even with my biggest issue that I had with this movie, I was like, why can't we write a lot of the superhero movies like this, like that have been coming out? So I really do think, I remember walking out of this movie thinking that, there's not a superhero fatigue. I think it's just people need to be entertained better. And that's okay. It's okay to have that kind of level of expecting that from these type of movies. And so I'm glad that to me it delivered it.
Come from mindless entertainment anymore. They're actually expecting, if it's going to be superheroes, fine, but also make sure the story is worth it and that the characters are worth it. And that's something that some of our movies have been lacking. And maybe, just maybe. So what's great about this movie and Spider-Man No Way Home, they do the multiverse, but it's still in its own universe, right? It's still about that one character. It's not trying to service a greater story. And so maybe Marvel needs to go back to, I know they want to build out this universe with everything interconnected, but maybe they just need to focus on that person's story and let the interconnected kind of, which is how the original Marvel phase 1s, phase 2 were until it started getting super connected, right? Maybe they need to look at that formula again and revisit that, because when you start having that,
wouldn't you say shows like Moon Knight were like that? Like Moon Knight didn't feel like it was connected to anything.
No, it did not.
And I did not like it. I mean, I like 2 episodes.
You're right, and that could be in just the direction they're taking the characters.
I really do think it has a lot to do with the writing teams. I think stretching everybody out like
too thin.
Too thin could affect all that. Let's see, they're working on one to compete with Sony, but who knows when. A Batman one. Can you guys review Asteroid City? It's coming out the same week.
I do want to see that movie.
As Flat. Is that a Wes Anderson flick?
It is. Yeah, Tom Hanks is going to be making his premiere.
His
feature in
premiere in a Wes Anderson movie. I'll let Amanda review that one.
There's a lot of, I mean, I love Wes Anderson. I wouldn't mind reviewing it.
I'll review Transformers Rise of the Beast. How about that? And Amanda can do.
We are going to have to go see that next week and review.
Oh my gosh, my kids are so excited about that one. We just need better written superheroes and shot superhero movies. Yes. Also true. We shall be entertained on June 16th with The Flash. I'm so curious. I'm curious which one will perform better.
My head still thinks that Spider-Man's going to.
Now, is that your head and your heart? Your heart.
No, it's my head, because so we've been having this talk, and then I got to thinking about it. I was like, even though some people think that it's not, doesn't look like but people won't bring their kids, but people will bring their kids because they still think it's an animated film, even if it's not it's still animated, and it's Spider-Man. So people know Spider-Man. He's a very famous animated character, has been for many years. So you have the people who will still take their kids, plus the adults who will see Spider-Man. But not a lot of people are going to take their kids to The Flash, not their littler kids, not their 7-year-olds and 6-year-olds, but adults will go see this Flash. So that's where I think we're going to see. I think this movie is going to be one that over time, just kind of how Guardians has been, where they haven't dropped that much each week. In fact, Guardians week 3 was as good as the week 2 of Fast X, right? And Fast X does do very
good. Any of that means how good the Fast that would require me to know how good Fast X is doing. I haven't seen past Fast 1, so slow down.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think that I'll be interested to see how it does, but I think that
I'm curious. I have high hopes for this movie. I hope it does well. And to compete against a live action movie that's been years in the making, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough to take that reign. So I'm curious how we will find out when I'm in Japan. So
or more. Speaking of the multiverse, didn't the timeline branch look like what it did in Loki? Is that a hint? I think it could be just an Easter egg, or it's just what a timeline branch looks like, because it's very
Jonathan
weird.
Majors was going to be at the end of this one, but he had to get pulled at the last.
That's
second.
Not true. No, that's not true. It's very weird what Sony and Marvel I don't think with the agreements they have on what they're allowed to do. That's why we never saw any of the footage from Tom Holland's universe that we did get to see.
Yeah, that's still weird.
I think that flew, but we could get the mention of Tom Holland and Doctor Strange. I keep saying Peter Parker and Doctor Strange's adventures.
He has a name. It's Peter Parker, not Tom Holland.
That's why I don't think that. Yeah, there's only so much. It's weird. It's so weird how they do those things. Yeah.
Do we have a Flash review on June 16th or so? Do you have time? Do I have time? Absolutely not. Will we have a review? Of course.
Of course. We talked about that trying to do before he leaves.
I just gotta let Amanda plan my week for me.
That's what I do.
That will come in handy. Pete Davidson's Mirage is going to be Omar's favorite. You're dead to me,
I agree. I think so.
No, it is not. There's not a single bad frame in this movie. Yes. Agreed.
Yeah.
There were a ton of kids at my Spider-Man screen. That's awesome. I can't remember how many kids. There were some kids in the front and then in the back.
I saw
Fast X has made more in the worldwide box office than The Little Mermaid.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the power of family.
Well, Fast X or Fast franchise has done really well
overseas. It always does well.
It
kills it overseas.
It always has killed it overseas. That's why was a Fury 7 or whichever one made $1 billion. That's why I was able to do that, because of that worldwide box office.
I think they will take them to see Michael Keaton's Batman. They were kids when they last saw him, and now they'll take their kids to him. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know it's the Flash, but I keep thinking about this movie as the Batman movie.
Well, I think of a general audience who may not be massive Michael Keaton fans, but their kids really love Spider-Man, so they'll take
those people.
Well, no, I mean but they'll take those people exist, but they'll take them to see Spider-Man because Spider-Man's on lunchboxes, Spider-Man's on backpacks, Spider-Man's on clothing that they buy at Walmart.
Batman's on a lunchbox.
Yes.
Batman's on fights.
But how much is the Flash on that thing? Not as much as he should.
Not Ezra Miller, but the Flash is also. Yeah. I said, we will see. I'll be in Japan, and I can't Like, even when I'm right, I can't even like call Amanda to make fun of her because that's going to cost me 25 cents a minute.
I thought you guys, oh, is it? I thought you guys had data or whatever.
Oh, we got data. I'm going to FaceTime you just to rub it in your face while I'm in Japan. Hey, I know it's 3 o'clock in the morning over there, but I just had to tell you.
I will be interested because I want to see if its opening does as well as like Guardians. So, because, you know, Guardians obviously made more than Ant-Man Quantumanium, and it had legs, which is great. So it's already surpassed.
Yes, word of mouth really helps.
Yeah. Ant-Man's
6 people in my theater. That breaks my heart. When did you see it? When did you see it? Wait a minute. You said you were smoking. Are you sure there were only 6 people?
Are you sure that happened? Yeah, we had a ton. Yeah.
This has me curious. I know nothing about the Flash movie outside of the 2 trailers I saw. Flash is supposed to be like an 80s movie, is what I'm hearing. What does that mean? Yeah. We're going to get a montage? If we get a montage, oh my God, best movie of the year.
I have heard from someone, a reviewer who's already seen The Flash, when they were at those, that the plot similarities may also be similar to this movie.
Okay, you can't say anything. Be quiet. Quiet.
I don't know. That's literally all they said. I don't know what that means.
The plot similarities may be similar to this movie. It
may have similar plot points as this movie, is what they're saying.
What was the movie? Oh no, don't say the movie. Did they say the movie?
No, I was watching someone's they were going through the Metacritic score analysis of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and they started talking about the Flash, and this reviewer also got to see the Flash early at that screening and said they have similar plot points. So now it's going to be which one does it better, I think.
Back to the Future is what we're talking about here. I live in a sketchy area. Maybe that's why there's only 6 people and no kids.
Well, that would be it. With the middle of the day, smoke them if you got them.
Omar, are you going to a maid cafe in Japan? When I was there in 2008, I'm going to tell my story really quick. We went to a maid cafe. I didn't know what to expect. So I ordered the curry. This young lady dressed like a maid came out and delivered my curry. She put my curry down. And then she got on her knees. And in my head, I was like, oh, shit. Where's this going to go? I'm in my honeymoon. I have no idea what's going to happen. So she takes the spoon out of my curry and she blows on it because it's steaming hot. And then she feeds it to me. And I said, no, thank you. I'm not into that. I appreciate that, but that's not me. I don't know if that woman is sick. She just blew on my food. I don't need those kind of germs on my food. I thought something else was going to happen. But that is my experience at a maid cafe. More power to you if you enjoy those kind of things, but not for me. There were a lot of people at this maid cafe, so a lot of people were into these things. But if you ordered a curry at a maid cafe, they will get on their knees and blow on your curry and feed you. And if you're into that, more power to you. But that ain't me, man. I haven't seen any of Ted Lasso yet, so don't say anything.
We can't. I watched it, Matt.
I haven't seen it.
I have mixed feelings about the whole season, but maybe once Omar watches it all, we can actually talk about it.
Omar, the maid cafe critic. It's just not my thing, man. I'm into a lot of weird shit, but not that. That people blowing on my food is not what I want.
That is, oof.
Hell yeah, definitely need to go to a maid cafe in Japan. I love it. Did anyone dress up in your guys' screen? There was a little boy dressed up as Miles Morales.
There's a little boy. There's a little boy as Miles Morales in ours. Yeah.
Someone dressed up as the human spider from the first Toby film.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, mainly it was the little kids that were dressed up.
Yeah, like I said, we had for our theater, our little town theater, it was busy. We had to wait in line, and we missed the previews and almost missed the opening of the movie.
Which is so weird for our town. Dude, yeah, I'd let Optimus Prime blow on my curry any day.
Okay.
What? It's Prime. That still can't be the case in COVID times. No, they must have shut off that service. All right. Anything else before we sign off tonight, Amanda?
No, that is it. So next week we are going to be back on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to be doing, because I just can't get enough of not talking about Spider-Man, Omar and I will go ahead and rank the Spider-Man films that have all come out to date. Where we stand, our favorite Spider-Man films, and where they rank in our rankings. So if you guys have your own rankings, feel free to start, join us on that day to throw them in the chat, and judge us on what we love, which ones we love, and which ones we do not love. Things might surprise you.
I still
haven't decided if we're going to add in like the supporting Spider-Man character movies, like the Venoms and Morbius. Oh,
you gotta throw in Morbius.
Yeah, we probably got to see that because God knows we got to talk about Morbius again. So we might be throwing those in. I haven't decided. We'll let you guys know when we go ahead and put up that social media post reminder. But that will be what we're doing on next Wednesday, the 7th. Is that a 7th? Yes.
Is it? Yep. I'm curious. Outside of Miss Chen, was there a symbiote? I kept looking for symbiotes.
I didn't see a symbiote. I didn't see anything like that.
Nope. We're gonna include animation and live action. Probably since 2000 moving forward. How about that?
Someone asked about the 1977 Spider-Man, and I don't think I have access to that.
TV show. Morbius is easy. Yes. Morbin time. Got that movie put back in theater so we could bomb twice.
I said yes.
That's ridiculous. Young Indiana Jones on Disney Plus now. Did you watch it? I did. I loved Young Indiana Jones. That was a good show.
We'll have to rank some Indiana Jones stuff too at some point. I can't wait to.
Oh, I'm so scared to see this new one because after Crystal Skull, man.
I know.
At least this one doesn't have Shia LaBeouf swinging on trees with monkeys. So
no. Can't, there's always a silver lining to everything.
Is that the silver lining, Shia LaBeouf? Okay.
But guys, thank you so much for watching our review tonight. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and remember to follow us on all of our social media channels at NearMintCon. Remember to check us out on Spreadshop for some great Near Mint Edition merchandise, and also check us out on Patreon for I forgot my gift for $1.
You have so many gifts here.
I tried to show some of them. For $1 a month or more, if you join our Patreon, you get a lot of great benefits, and you get to support us here on what we do on the channel. And last but not least, if it's classy and cool, it must be Near Mint. Good journey, everyone. Have a great evening, and you'll probably see Omar Saturday for the live stream, and you will see me next Wednesday.
And next Tuesday.
I forgot. Omar. Hopefully Omar put up a poll so I know what the heck to
I did. Hold on. It looks like we're going to be reading Batman Under the Red Hood.
Ooh, I'm going to pull that out right now and start reading it. I'm so excited.
There's two of those. Yeah. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. What Amanda said. Andy Sandberg.
Oh, Andy Sandberg. That's nothing to do with this one.
Best. Oh, wow. Look at that jacket. Everybody stay healthy and safe. Thank you for joining us.
Matt said, what's next Wednesday? We're going to rank all of our Spider-Man films, 2000s and beyond, and it's animated and live action. And we'll probably include the supporting character movies as well, like Venom and Morbius. And, well, thank God Craven hasn't come out yet, but okay.
Oh, we've been offline for a while.
No, we're not. I'm not silly. I see the live, but I see the not live.
Are we reviewing Transformers next Friday?
And we'll probably review Transformers next Friday as well.
Yeah, I got my busy
I know
week.
my daughter likes the other Transformers movies, so I'm sure she'll enjoy this one.
She does. Oh my gosh, I need to talk to that child. Thank you, everybody. Now you can sign off.